No?
Yes.
Nice.
I think so.
Okay. You want me to link it then?
I have absolutely nothing on that screen, so I might as well. Smoke doors. Stop challenging me, Sitchin. Okay.
Let's just sit and move.
And now I should be live. Question mark.
Okay.
Is Inder here?
Inder's here, yeah. He's just quiet.
Inder's here, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just quiet for the moment because Aver
Okay.
just.
It's working.
Okay.
Oh, it is.
Do you have a link
What?
now
Yes.
that you can post?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Inder sounds like a light version of Situm. I like this.
All right. I'm just a bit down because I really feel sleepy right now.
Yeah, look.
Oh, it
okay.
worked. Let's
look,
go.
I'm not taking the blame for that.
We're gonna blame you anyway. Anyway,
Fuck
do
off.
we want to start with introductions so people actually know who's talking?
Yes, but let me put that in announcements first so that people can actually. Why is my internet not loading?
Do I everyone?
Your call, FC. I don't care.
Oh,
Well, he did.
Oh,
so-
okay, fair.
Yep. Okay. Lovely.
Call. Cool. Approved.
Hello,
Anyway,
Mason.
I guess
So yeah, now
Amazing.
now that
Amazing.
we've annoyed everyone, we can start with the introductions. I'll go first, and then we'll go in alphabetical order. I'm Aberforth, leader of the tier, and gonna play an SCL, and otherwise washed up and prefer Gen 8. FC. Go.
Hi, I'm FC. I'm the other cheerleader. I'm not washed up, and I'm also gonna be CL, but I'm actually gonna win my games. Who's next
Inder.
in the alphabet? Inder. Oh.
Yo, Inder, I'm the current champions of UPL and might be the greatest Uber player of all time, and I'm here to cast with others, second category Uber player, and yeah, you should thank me for being here at 1 a.m. Who's next?
Yeah, and then Manaphy, and then Sitchum.
All right, yeah. Hello, I'm Manaphy. I play Ubers. I write a lot of the analyses. I'm kind of washed up also, but sometimes I do well. That's the best way to put it, I guess. Sometimes.
And then lastly is Sitchum.
The great ones do not need an introduction.
Axline isn't here.
I'm
Introduce
joking.
yourself.
I'm joking. I'm Situm. I play Ubers. I'm gonna do a CL, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yep.
Inshallah.
So we're just going to be using this cast to discuss the changes to the SCL meta. I think Kate will be joining us after her random battle series ends. I think it went on for longer than they anticipated, but whatever. So the changes from pre-home to post-home to DLC 1. What our thoughts are on anything that might or might not be broken, and there's a little hint on my screen as to the 2 potential suspects of that I think we can all probably just name. The bloody bikes. And then go into our thoughts on SCL, who we think's going to get drafted, who do we think's going to do well, any anticipations for the upcoming meta changes. To an extent, that's going to be like... I'm not expecting FC to reveal what he's going to bring week 1 in this call. But, like, just
He's
generally
gonna
what
bring
trends you think
his
you can
core.
see happening.
It
Totally
would be a
sure.
it would be a power move if I did.
It would be a
But
power move if you did, but
I'm
you
not
would
going
lose.
to.
Yes. And then, of course, we'll also just be taking questions from anyone who has any, just at us in the Discord or in the stream chat, and we will try and answer them. So, yeah, first and foremost, how has everyone enjoyed Gen 9 as a whole? Starting from pre-home and stuff.
Damn, sucked.
Oh,
It's so much better now.
I wasn't a huge fan of... I'm still not a huge fan of Gen 9. I do prefer Gen 8 still. but I think it has improved from the point where Chen Pao just had no resists, and Fluttermane was everywhere, and like I do think it's in a bit of a healthier place, although that is not saying much.
I'm still laughing about how I got to play FC in finals of like the first pre-home tour, and literally all I did was abuse Chi Yu and Xian Pao having no switch-ins. That literally every team would be just specs Chi Yu or ban Xian Pao, and it's like, why wouldn't I?
Dude, I remember you Terra Darked your Qian Pao, and it did 100 to my pecs with just Banded.
Yeah, Arceus has really helped just in general with all that stuff, because like it's bulky enough that it isn't immediately two-shot by Chen Pao or Chi Yu. I mean, it's still two-shot by Chi Yu, but Chi Yu's more difficult to run. Yeah, it's faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, Arceus is back, which is pretty big. We had a whole gen without it. I do think it's kind of a little bit the glue that holds everything together, though.
Yeah. I don't know. It does feel weird because like the bikes, as you refer to them as, Cordon Miradon, they're so good that like
you need a reason to not run at least one of them. I don't think I've seen a viable team where they don't have either Miraidon or Koraidon on them.
Yeah, I mean they're too good to be ignored. It's impossible.
And Arceus is one of the only things that can kind of like, or at least could kind of like pretend to deal with them, like Arceus Ground, Arceus Fairy. But Koraidon did get some relevant things with the launch of the DLC, so let's start talking about that. What do we think of Koraidon as of right now? Immediate impressions now that it has Scale Shot.
This thing is so broken.
It's just too broken. We should suspect it at least. Literally have no counter. Skeledir takes a big 16% of his whole life, and you're just forced to commit your Terra really early if you want to deal with this Koraidon, or just play E-Killer.
E-Killer's way better right now.
Deal correctly with Koraidon right now.
Well, we were just talking before the stream started that we were probably going to have to do a quick mini update and increase E-Killer's rank. It was B+. I think that was fair pre-DLC. Maybe a little bit harsh, but fair. Do you think it's A-, A-, A+? I assume no one puts it in S, but where would you rank E-Killer at the moment?
I would probably put it like... I know I've been kind of known as an E-Killer hater since the home dropped, but...
Hello, Shrine?
Yeah, so scale shot Koraidon, the defense drops makes it way better. Also,
just generally, it's more offensive as a meta, which is better for E-Killer anyway. Like, if it's not having to deal with the bulk of... If Skeledirge isn't being run because it can't deal with Koraidon, Skeledirge isn't also checking E-Killer at the same time.
Yeah. I was going to say, Rabambi is also running around. So, like, if you ladder right now, like 2/3 of teams on the ladder are just, like, Rabambi webs.
Yeah.
Specifically because it outspeeds Taunt Arceus, and it's also Fairy, so it's immune to Scale Shot, so... And
it also has Imprison and Defog as a combination as well, so it can kind of act as its own prevention of removal. Because, like, what spinners are even good right now? I don't think any of them are.
Yeah,
I think Tusk is pretty good. Like,
I'm not...
It's not amazing, but I think Tusk is
what I will say
than
is...
what we've given it for.
Ribombi does not fear the Great Tusk matchup.
No, that's not an issue it has.
No.
But I think that's our only pretty good spinner.
It's okay. Tusk is okay. Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, Scale Shot Koraidon. If we had a survey right now, would you vote to keep it or ban it?
It's close.
Yeah, it's close.
I
I'm still thinking that we should keep Koraidon, but honestly, it's ban-worthy material, if we're gonna be honest.
Would you vote on suspecting it or not?
Yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah,
think
I would
right.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, I think it's fine for a suspect. Like personally, I think it would probably be okay to stay, especially since this isn't the final meta. There's still a massive DLC that
Yes,
I think is introducing a lot more than this one.
I think
If
as
this
a
was
general...
the final meta,
Go.
oh, I said if this was the final meta, I think we'd have a couple more issues. But like, I think there's enough time to adapt to this stuff without like the broken mons adapting back before DLC 2.
I think that if we do ban anything, either Miraidon or Koraidon, the DLC 2 should be the point at which they would be freed and tested again.
Yeah, that too.
I don't know if people realize like how broken Scale Shot actually is, because you just look at it and you're like, oh, another speed boosting move, whatever. But,
base 100 guaranteed power dragon.
Yeah, you put loaded dice on that thing. You get 5 hits. It does 50% minimum with 5 hits to Skeledirge and Toxapex.
I'm pretty sure 4 hits is enough to have a roll to 2-hit KO. Like, and that's only getting 4 hits, not even 5.
4 hits is 48 max for Sturge.
Okay. So you need to get lucky on one of the two then.
Yeah, it's not even that lucky because it's 4 or 5 with dice.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it's kind of insane.
You could factor in the 10% accuracy or whatever, but like that's still like, I don't know, probably greater than 50% chance. Just a 2-hit KO, like the two most like
capable
solid
checks.
Like cornerstone physically defensive bonds that have been like a part of balance. And like, okay, so it's also like you don't have to waste a slot on Flame Charge, which means you can run you run like Scale Shot, Low Kick, Swords Dance, Flare Blitz. You have everything. You don't like miss anything. And like before.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah. Like before, if you ran Flame Charge, you miss a really important coverage move, or if you ran Stomping Tantrum to like kill Skeledirge, then you have to lure it in, then use a fighting move to get extra power or whatever. This you have everything.
The other thing about it as well is that the speed boost means that like opposing Scarf Koraidon is a speed tie, Zacian can't revenge kill you. You outspeed random choice Scarf users. If you get 2 hits, you hit outspeed Bundle and Electric Terrain. All of these things. The speed boost actually matters, and generally, I think that only getting a -1 defense drop, it's so good. I expect Bulk Up Koraidon will also see a lot of usage as well with Scale Shot, just in terms of offsetting that minimal defensive bulk. Like the pre-DLC set of Flame Charge, Bulk Up, Drain Punch, and Taunt, you just replace Flame Charge with Scale Shot, and that set becomes a lot scarier. But yeah.
And you could actually hit Dirge and stuff.
So Koraidon got Scale Shot, and Miraidon got Charge. Has DLC changed Miraidon at all? Has it made it worse, in your opinion?
I didn't know it got Charge. It's kind of...
It's a funny addition.
Because everything that you need in a Miraidon is for its electric stab to be stronger.
Dude, I'm ready preparing to see Sun Charge Solar Beam Miraidon on ladder. People in Uberscast being like, it's good, bro. Just it wanted KO's Ting Lu. Come on, you gotta run it.
Yeah, nah. Has it gotten any worse in your opinion now that the Koraidon is arguably a better breaker?
No. It's Miraidon.
Yeah.
Click Draco.
Honestly, the same, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. Personally speaking, I would have ranked... Well, I did. I ranked Miraidon higher than Koraidon by a little bit before the DLC, just because I think it just broke better, but with the development of Scale Shot, I'm like, yeah, you definitely got to put Koraidon higher. And I really I don't know how you adapt to Scale Shot. Like, what do you do? Honestly, what do you do? Like, you run more
offense.
Let's say you run Skeledirge.
More
I mean,
Terra Fairy,
That,
more
that's the thing
Fairy.
with
or
scale
Ogre.
shots. You can also, I mean, use pegs or something like that, like you did before, because you can even use helmet, check it, because scale
Yeah,
shot
that's big. No
doesn't
contact.
proc.
Hmm.
Yeah, doesn't
And
have it's not a contact.
Yeah.
Kate's
Yeah.
just finished her Ranbat set and joined. Do you want to introduce yourself briefly, Kate, and say if you think Koraidon should stay?
Hello. My name is Kate. I dumpster these fools and call. And what we're talking about Koraidon?
Yeah.
We're just finishing up talk of the meta bit from DLC 1 coming out. So
Not
basically,
gonna lie, Koraidon is probably broken, but it's also like far and away the best Scarfer in the tier with a ton of fucking offense. So, like, if you ban it, it kind of has a terrible ripple effect. But Scale Shot is definitely really annoying to deal with.
That is true, and I also think because Scarf is just so good, Scale Shot, like even though Scale Shot is like such a good breaker, it'll only be like a secondary set just because of how good Scarf is at beating all of the offenses tier cards, especially with webs now.
will
'Cause-
you run Scale Shot on your Scarf Koraidon?
No,
No,
Yo, that's kind of fire though.
definitely
That's
need the
kind of
dice.
fire though.
Without the dice, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I
Dude, I'm
have
not
to
getting-
ask, why would you let your Revenge Killer use a 90% accurate move?
let your Revenge Killer use a 50 BP move when you get 2 hits.
Maybe.
On
Okay.
the
For real.
on the topic of like the Scarf, Koraidon or Miraidon,
I've got to say, Manaphy, everyone is laughing at your pronunciation of the bikes. Miridon,
What?
Koraidon, Koraidon. I've got someone saying
That's
that
not
you
what
say it like
Miraidon.
Koraidon. And Miridon,
It's like-
Koraidon.
It's I don't say whatever, Layson. I don't say Groudon like Groudon like Hack does. Okay, so or Kyogre. Anyway, no, but like I felt like a lot of the pre DLC meta was like people would lead like Scarf Koraidon or Miraidon, and then like you would get into these weird situations where like the first turn momentum I felt like decided like so many games. Just like looking through UPL and stuff like that, like
It
a
was
lot of it was literally just like like, oh, are you let's say you both lead like your U-turn, bike or whatever. It's like, are you going to stay in a U-turn? Are you going to attack? Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
And
it's,
it
it's
just
a game of chicken, pretty much. Whoever,
yeah,
it's
for
right.
real.
Edgar,
And
it's
because
less...
you could just get
Sorry, I'll just interject briefly. Edgar, it's less that we're wanting to immediately suspect it and more talking about, like, do we think this mon is potentially at the level where it could be?
Yeah, we have only had DLC for like 3 days.
Oh yeah, we're not
Gotta-
we're not doing anything quickly.
Yeah, but it's on the tape. It's like something we can discuss because I think it got like a ton better with DLC. I thought Scale Shot wasn't going to do anything for it, but then you see the calcs and you see how few fairy types we have.
I mean, I don't even think it's the calcs. I think just having a speed boosting move that isn't flame charge is huge for it.
That's it,
Mostly
'cause, like,
because the speed control literally is Koraidon in every game.
yeah, especially because if you're using flame charge, usually that's your move to hit fairy assist, and at +2 it's doing like 45. So
Yeah. I think just
was kinda
not
weak.
needing to Terra to beat a bunch of stuff is really big for it.
Yeah,
'Cause you can just click +2 Flare Blitz and kill like the entire meta.
Yeah. So I think that's basically. Do we want to talk briefly about Ogerporn and any of the irrelevant Loyal 3?
Why did you say it like that?
Is that not how
that's
Ogerporn is
too mad.
pronounced?
Why is there an R at the end there?
There's no R. What are you on about?
Okay,
I
I'm
think
just
that's how you say it.
I'm just
Ogerporn.
not gonna say how I'm hearing you say it because I
Fuck
don't
off.
think it's
It's,
appropriate.
it's the accent.
It really is.
Fuck
I
all of you.
Okay, so it looks like almost nothing new got put on our preliminary VR, aside from Darkrai Skyman, which have to be there. And then it looks
Skyman,
like
that's a fair shot, yeah.
Somehow Ogerpon got put on the VR. I don't know what you guys see in this thing. It looks terrible. And then Rabombi, obviously.
Didn't we vote Ogerpon to like C-?
No.
Yes, it's C-. It should be unranked though.
I mean, like, theoretically, you can throw
It's
some stuff at it.
strong.
I
but
will
if I
say
want a
I think it's better than Gliscor.
Oh, no, don't do him like that.
No,
Gliscor
I
is
don't
so
agree
good.
with
I don't think actually it's better than Gliscor. Just tell me what's the utility of Ogerpon.
Well, I wasn't actually thinking it was any better than Gliscor. I just wanted to annoy FC.
Right.
I
Ogerpon
saw
doesn't have
Ox.
utility. It's strong. That's it.
I saw Ox use it, and it like mold breaker throat chopped my Skeledirge until it KO'd. And I was like,
Wow.
you know what? That's kind of neat. I'll rank it C-.
Oh, that's funny because it stops Torch Song too.
Yeah,
Does it?
yeah.
Yeah, Throat Chop. It stops Torch Song.
Oh, damn.
Well, I mean, that doesn't even matter, because, like, what is it doing back to you anyway?
I mean, if it's in Sun, it's probably going to do a decent chunk because it's part grass, but still.
Just don't be in sun.
I mean, that's difficult in this meta.
Yeah, but that also means you can, if you Throat Chop it, you can Trailblaze on it after. Because you'll outdamage it with SD Mold Breaker.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Shaman and Darkrai. Shaman, I think, is potentially relevant in terms of like Scarf and Subseed, and Manaphy rates Sash.
It's a pretty good anti-lead to Rabombi.
That's true. It does outspeed Rabombi.
No, it's not, because Shield does prevent flinching.
Shit.
No, you click
Yeah.
sub. You click sub.
Like so, but then it just breaks
I
with
mean-
Moonblast.
Yeah. I tried Subseed, and okay, so in theory, Subseed goes incredibly hard. The only thing you have to accomplish is to kill the bikes and Zacian.
Which
That's
is
okay.
easier said than done, to be fair.
That's
That
pretty
sounds
hard to do.
impressive.
Like, I never actually was able to like really get like a Subseed sweep going, so that's why I wasn't a huge fan of it.
Yeah, I really think Subseed is a really bad idea. That's not works. In fact,
I think
There's-
Healing Wish is more what gives it its
problems
viability.
with both Korai, just U-turning or Volt Switch on your face, and you can just do anything except subbing.
I think
just gotta
Healing
Yeah.
Wish paired with like Scale Shot Koraidon is more of where its niche is, especially with Koraidon wearing itself down with like the defense drops and Flare Blitz recoil. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
even
for
just
sure.
Even just like a Zacian that has to like hit Lando a couple of times or take a burn from Dirge as you crunch it,
yeah,
like healing that back up could just instantly end a game.
Hmm.
Because obviously Lando has no recovery and stuff. But I feel like Lando might fall off a little bit because of Scale Shot Koraidon.
yes, probably.
But it's still gonna be good.
It's
You know
still
who's gonna
Orlando.
replace? You know who's gonna replace him though?
I swear to
Let's
God, if you
score.
say great stuff. Okay.
Listen. Okay, listen. Let me say my piece. The most broken move in the game, it's knockoff. Blitzcore got that. It has spikes. It has toxic. It doesn't need roost. Trust me. It just sits
Bro, you
there.
have only
It-
4 moves.
It
and
clicks
you
knockoff.
can't-
It clicks knockoff and toxic, and that's all it has to do.
Knight
Okay,
doesn't
and what
need
is this
EQ,
hypothetical move
protect,
set?
toxic, and whatever in the last slot, but you can't run everything on this core, unfortunately. It's even hazards or knock.
Aber, did you kick him? Was that a penalty
No.
kick?
No, that was his
Sorry.
internet. That was his internet sucking. I just
Oh
want to let
God,
FC
that was
know.
funny.
I just want to let FC know that at +2, 4-hit Scale Shot is a roll to Oko Gliscor.
Listen, it doesn't have to beat that. Don't worry about it. Anyway, I misclicked switching tabs, the X button, because I was looking at our VR. I was looking at our VR slate because I wanted
Better
to
here
see.
than in the game, bro.
You could just run
Yeah.
a Terra Fairy Terra Blast class.
True.
Fuck off. I'm still
going back
annoyed
to,
at Kate beating me in seasonal with a fucking AV Tinglu. But anyway,
was
let's
fire.
let's
That
move
was
this
cool.
let's move this slightly more onto what we said the cast would be more about. SCL. So there's some weird developments. For example, FC got retained for 17k in a pretty stacked Ubers pool. But also X-Line got retained for 10k. Do you think X-Line would have gone for 10k in the auction? I know he's a good player, but he's never gone for 10k in any official tour.
I feel like after going 6-3 twice in a row, someone's gonna pay something for him.
No, because like even if you upbid him, the people who don't want him really don't want him. So the risk of actually getting X-Line is too much for them.
I think he got retained for the symbol of hits, not for the real prize value. I mean, X-Line could go easily with a huge record. He's an able player.
I think
It will
X-Line
be
will
very
go.
cool.
I think X-Line will go positive personally.
Yeah, for sure.
But
He just needs teams actually because he never played SV Ubers before. I
That-
mean, maybe
is-
2 games on his own.
he
No
played
more.
SV in the pre-home meta. I think he went either 2-3 or 3-2 in the Winter League that we had. But
Yeah,
he's not
okay,
played this
pre-home
meta.
just does not count.
That is probably
Pretending
fair.
that never existed.
Did he won an SV game in UVL? I remember he was
I
like
think he did.
0-2 in 2 weeks.
He
Then
did
he
win.
Yeah.
I think he finished with a neutral record, and he lost in ADV in the finals. So I think he won 3 games in SV. But
Wow.
again, it was pre-home. So
Oh yeah, I forgot he was on my team.
yes, he was on our team.
Also, let me just interject real quick with something off topic.
Go on.
Baxcalibur was just announced to be banned, so now it's Ubers.
No,
And now it has to
no.
be now it has to be ranked on the field.
No.
It has to be
No
ranked
one
D,
is
FC. It has to be ranked D.
It has to be put on the list, which is good enough for me.
Yeah, look.
You know what?
It-
You
I-
know what else should be on the list?
Did you guys see Taka's RMT with Bax?
Yeah.
They look
I
pretty
played
It's
good.
one
cool
game
until
with-
you realize you can just run a Rayquaza instead.
I played one game with scale shot backs and I missed and it died. I haven't used it since. But-
That's all it takes to completely give up on a Mon. No, it's just,
Yeah.
okay, well, should have known better.
I mean, if I'm using a
It's-
Scale Shot Dragon, I have both Rayquaza and Koraidon. Maybe it'll be viable, but I just don't really see it.
It's
Can I
Ubers
get out
now,
my
so-
spicy hot take?
Go
I want
on.
to get out my spicy hot take. All right.
Go ahead.
Scale Shot Koraidon. What's the only thing that stops it?
No, don't say it.
Fuck off. No, we're not
Huh?
mentioning Dashbun.
Dashwood, let's go! It's back, baby. It's back.
It was never
I
here,
don't
and it
think
still
back,
never is.
because one of
Dude,
the
it's gonna. I'm
options
telling
with
you.
Raiden is actually to run Iron Head with Dilzera instead of Fight Move, and then no dash buns. I'm sorry.
No Koraidon is running Iron Head for the next
You can basically
10
you can.
years.
You're getting some
Nobody's
hype-
doing
Biggest
that, dude.
counter of Raiden. Actually,
You're
it's
getting
like,
some hype in Uber's cord for it, so
Arceus
it's
Fury?
okay.
Can't you just run Galarian Wheezing? Neutralizing gas cancels the bike abilities now. They updated it.
Is that how that works?
Did they update
I
that?
don't
Because
remember.
I knew they were part of the exceptions, but I did not know that they
No,
fixed that.
Game Freak literally came
Oh.
with the code for it.
Nice. Okay,
So yeah,
that's
they
that's
have
good
it
then.
now.
Manaphy, I hate to be the one to break this to you, but +2 Koraidon's collision course can to it Dashbun, and play rough will never kill back.
Okay, but are
Oh.
you running SD collision course, not low kick?
If
I
Dashbun
am-
becomes fucking popular, I am, and I am against you.
Okay. I'm just saying, dude. I think because what else are you running? Like Arceus Fairy, you just get flare blitzed. You know, like
Yeah.
unironically, like I'm not memeing here. Like,
I think
that's how good Scale Shot Koraidon is. I
It
think.
beats
just
Scale
run
Shot
a-
Koraidon. I don't think it does
Manadra is
anything
cooking
else.
way too much.
I think
You can run
I
Minish,
think
yeah.
the way that people will deal with Scale Shot Koraidon is by running more ways to number one, more Terra Fairies and like Terra Fairy Kyogre and stuff. And number two, more priority. Stuff like E-Killer, stuff that can try and take advantage of the defense drops.
I
Yeah,
literally don't
exactly.
think like dedicating a slot to like in the top S tier offensive threat, like that seems reasonable to me. You know?
It would be
Um,
reasonable if Dashbun did anything else ever.
I mean, it's pretty like I don't know. You can wish.
I'm pretty
past,
sure
you can
Play Rough like
crappy helmet
feels
stuff.
blue.
Yeah. Man, did you end up signing up for STL?
I didn't. I mean, is it still up?
No, it
No,
isn't.
I
was
They
gonna
closed.
say we're saved from Dashbun for this tour.
Okay.
Maybe.
I mean, he
It's
might
not-
might help someone, but like, good luck to them if
Yeah,
they're using
at
Dashbun.
least for this year, I would consider helping, but I don't want to. I
You
don't know.
wanna play.
Last time I played, like, if I had a good season this year, I had an okay season this year, I guess, but then I would sign up. But yeah, I don't know. Last year I played, it was like the most like try hardy of small gun players were just like they were looking at like my record from like SPL when I played when I was like 15 or something back in like 2012 or something like that.
And they thought you were a
And,
veteran who'd never taken a break.
It's just like, yeah, it just had a weird feeling about it.
I mean, are you sure you don't want to enter? I hear that the second DLC is introducing Buzzball.
That's not in time for this SCL, Kate.
No,
Oh,
I made that up because I know who likes using Buzzball.
Okay.
Oh, they
Uh,
could come back. Never know.
yeah, I mean, I do remember, I think it was SCL1, X-Line using Life Orb mixed Zekrom against Manaphy, and it being one of the more predictable sets I've ever seen in a game. I think we were in call, in Uberscast, watching that game, and on preview, everyone knew that it was going to be a Life Orb mixed Zekrom, specifically to try and mess up with Boswell and Tangrowth.
But then that also became arguably its best set.
It is its
so
best
that
set
was
now.
just- Yeah,
But-
that was just the first time we saw it.
At the time, that set was kind of niche.
Yeah,
So
at the
little
time,
bit.
I think that was the first time I had seen it. Like,
No, I'd seen it
DD,
before,
just-
but it wasn't as common as DD. But on the topic of
Yeah,
Manaphy, supporting a player who's playing, who do we think the overall best or most likely supporting pickups will be this SCL? Like, who's going to
Mr.
team up with
Boss,
Soulwind? Who's going to team up with a tour player that they're going to bring in? Who are the people like that? If managers are listening, who would you recommend as a helper slot?
Mr. Bossero.
Yo, someone pick up S Matrix. This guy is like kind of cracked, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He plays a ton of ladder, and he also did really good in the only tour he joined one tour. I think he went like 5-0, won the tour, and then hasn't played since.
That
Did he
is...
sign up?
Go.
It's kind of a
Ladder
flex,
goat.
but still.
Well,
Yeah, S Matrix is pretty good.
the person I was going to recommend was why is this not working? Whatever. Taka. I think Taka would be a good supporting slot for any team who wants to get him.
Yeah, I would
is he
agree
not
with that.
playing? I thought
I
he'd be
agree.
playing.
If he's starting, then he's starting, but I didn't think he'd quite get in. There's a lot of... Okay, let's go through who we think are going to be the starters then.
I guess
Uber-
he's still kind of newish. Yeah,
He's
but
new, yeah.
I
Uber's
do
has a
think
lot of
he's
really
pretty
good
good.
signups.
I think if it was a weaker pool, he could get in, but like, okay, genuinely, who do we think the starting... Let's say 9 are going to be. We know X-Line, we know FC, we know Soulwind, because
We
it's
know
Soulwind.
John Filch.
Yeah.
Is John Filch Ubers?
Yeah, he's been retained
I'm
for Ubers.
pretty sure, yeah.
Okay, so that's 4 of the starting slots basically already decided. There's only
Hey,
6
you're
more.
finished.
There's only 6 more,
Really?
and it's fitting in me, it's fitting Ice, it's fitting in
Ice Master.
Entro,
I think you-
who
I
I
think
think
you
is...
would- Yeah. I think you, Ice Master, Entro have to be locked pretty much.
I think that
which
just
leaves-
has to make sense. And then it leaves
Which leaves kind of 3 slots.
it leaves 3 slots, and you know there's going to be at least one team who's going to pick up a tour player with Uber's support for the actual main thing. Like what Malekith did with Edgar last year, that sort of thing. I expect there's going to be at least one team like that in this tour. So who do we think the final 3 slots are going to go to then?
I think Edgar could play, or he could support. I've liked his SV builds that I've seen from tours. I haven't seen him play too much, I just haven't watched his replays, but he made it far in home field. And I think he didn't drop an SV game the whole tour.
He destroyed me in home field SB. Granted, I only had 2 teams in my builder at the time, and I used a Clodsire, but I did get decimated by him.
I think he'd be a good
think
slot.
he's-
I think he would prefer, just from what I've spoken to him, I think he would prefer to be a supporter.
I think he'd also be a good support.
Yeah. I
And
think he's
I-
very capable,
I think-
by the way.
I think as for tour players, probably like Dolly or TBP, someone who played UPL, could probably hit one of those teams. Because Dolly obviously made open finals. He didn't have an amazing UPL, but he still was on a team that made it far, and I assume was decently active in like prepping and stuff. Because he has the experience.
He really did great games on playoff. I mean, I watched only 2 games of him, and it was his 2 games of playoffs, and he was very solid. He definitely have the level of starting for next SCL. So, if someone wants to consider him as a starter, I would just say, yeah, why not? For sure, he can go well, but he needs decent support.
Edgar's in the chat saying he wants to play. So yeah, he's probably a starting slot then, especially given his history of doing well in officials and stuff. So I was wrong with that. Edgar was invited to this cast. He decided not to. I think he was busy, but
Yeah.
we also kind of did rearrange this cast from last weekend where he might have been busier. So
Yeah, we had a bit of trouble scheduling this. If anyone European is watching, you'll know that it's
late.
around 2 a.m. Yeah, and we have 2 French users here, but we all managed.
I think Inda did
They
take a
were
nap.
very considerate.
I think Inda did take a nap beforehand, but okay. I know Xline has quite strong opinions about this. Do you think Oxo 4 should start?
Yeah, I think he should start.
No.
I don't think he will be a great support.
I think he has the potential to start, but I'm unsure if any manager will let him start.
If you consider drafting him, he should start. That's my.
Granted, if he gets drafted, I am not sure anybody would want that support. And
I was
being
about to
rude,
say,
but-
I do not think that Oxo 4 is a good support slot for someone like, using examples from before, a Fade or a Dali or the other one that you mentioned, TPP, Soulwind. I don't think those teams can be piloted by anyone who isn't Ox.
He
Yeah,
does
that's
pilot
why
them pretty
he should
well, though.
starting if someone consider him.
I think he could start, or if he does get picked up, he could also be like a rotational player with like another like
With you?
mainer, I guess. Like just two mainers who both can give builder input and stuff, so they both have their own styles. Because Ox very clearly has his own style. He even knows that. Like,
Yes.
not
Yeah.
many people agree with it, but
From what I've seen of him in like UPL and stuff like that, like, and I'm just saying this because like I was kind of guilty of this too, like back in the day in like Gen 8 SPL and stuff like that. It felt like he really preps, but it's also something where he preps so much that he really goes for the matchup, and if he doesn't get it, then he's just like. I forget, like, Aber, do you remember that game he played, like, versus Soulwind, and he had, like, no switch-in to, like,
I know the game you're on
like
about.
Like,
I'll see if I can get it
yeah.
up.
It was, like, if he got the matchup, it would have been, like, an auto win, but I think that level of fishing gets to be,
that's not what
you know.
I just want to mention that he won a big game against what was his name? A German, a tour player who has in Dave's team. He had not the greatest matchup ever, and he still managed to win this one. So I think he really improved on this way.
I think he's a better player than he is a builder in terms of I think his team to be as polite as possible. I think his teams are bad, but he wins with them anyway, and that's a compliment to him. Because if he's winning with teams that I don't think are good, then the only explanation is
optimistically, there is no Genesect for him to fail with. No.
Oh, come on! Don't be mean, bro. Don't be mean. Come on. No, I
mean,
mean, I
I'm not
think
being mean, but I'm not sure how that would do in a tour setting.
I mean, he ladders. I can tell he's very passionate and he ladders all the time, so he's got like pretty good game sense. But
So
I can tell he's a bit younger, and he can sometimes make some questionable decisions on like team building stuff.
I'm looking at the game
But,
that I think Manaphy was on about, and it is turn 11, and Ox has lost 4 Pokemon to a Specs Miraidon.
Yeah, come on, don't be mean.
yeah.
Don't be mean.
But
No,
equally,
because you know what he did?
this is a backhanded compliment in that, like, again, he does win with these teams. He is capable of going to that level. I think if he does start, I think it goes one of 2 ways, and only one of 2 ways. He either does incredibly well, or he gets benched by like week 4. And I don't think there's an in between. I don't ever see Ox being the type of player to go like 4-5, 5-4, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I will say, like, if you know you're gonna play him, like, it is terrifying because you have no idea what he's gonna bring. Like, what do you even prep? What do you even prep? You know?
There are a lot of
I'm
players
not
like that.
sure. I mean,
Especially
you can
from the
try
ladder.
to.
Well, I mean, no one is going to say what they would prep right now.
Yeah, sure.
I had an answer instantly in my head in terms of if I was playing Octo 4
none
week
of us
1.
want to say anything.
Yeah, none of us are going to reveal that because it is genuinely, it's a possible matchup for, okay, not Manaphy, he didn't sign up. I think everyone in this
the rest
pool
of us.
has at least a good chance of starting in week 1. I mean,
was
FC,
gonna say,
you might even be starting in a tier that isn't Ubers, but
Probably not, but we'll see where it goes. Anyway, I was
Probably
going to say, we also, when we had those 3 slots open, we also didn't mention Inder and Kate. Kate did play last year and went positive, so she's probably going to get picked up for somewhere. And then Inder has been doing very well, but also has no official experience.
I think
Inder, how do you feel about starting, or just like in general going into this tour?
I don't want to talk too many on myself because I know I'm able to do things in official, but I know it's not also the same pressure, not the same approach of the game, and this is way too different of the games I played by far. But if someone proposed me to start, I would say yes for sure.
And what about yourself, Kate?
What about me?
Were you listening to FC's question?
I'm more worried about getting drafted right now, but I'd be fine starting. I don't think it's gonna happen, but yeah.
Would you be? Do you think that you would be a good support slot, or do you think you'd be better as a starter?
I have some takes in the meta. I don't think many people would agree with.
8 supporting would be wild. Just
definitely
there
some
telling you to use
opinions.
wings and go.
No, I do think I can cook if people are willing to listen, but I'm not sure.
Galar Basque Legion goes hard.
Not every waiter doesn't listen to the chef. That's what I'll say.
I do remember
gonna
last
say
year.
ever.
This is an anecdote from last year, but Kate was helping Soulwind against me, and she got what I wanted to bring perfectly nailed on. She knew exactly what I was wanting to bring, and Soulwind did not want to use what she had prepped. And I remember that exactly because I ended up winning that match, and I ended up joining the Dynamo's Discord later. And obviously I went and looked at what they prepped for me, and I saw 2 teams, one of which destroyed me by Kate, and one of which that they went with by a collective team building group after they rejected the first team. So I appreciate that.
It is scary. It is scary to pick a team like that in officials, though, where you're like, you see like 3 unranked mons and a Necrozma Duskmane using like Iron Defense, and you're like, I don't know what this one. But sometimes those win. So in officials, sometimes you got to go for that, like just a couple of random techs, see what's up. So I don't know. I think
this is a question for Inda then. Do you think you'd do better supporting or starting?
I can do both.
Which would you prefer going in with the draft in like, what is it, 18 hours? What's your ideal situation going into this SCL?
I just want my slot to win. So if it's me, that's cool. If it's not me, he'll prepare the player as much as I can
A very
to
diplomatic
perform well.
answer.
That's a winner's mentality. So
The winner's mentality is being a hater. But
Sorry, Manifi, I think you were going to ask something a minute ago.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, we were talking about like ox and stuff like that. But I was gonna say, like, yeah, aren't those like how many? Like we were talking about, there's basically like 3 slots up for grabs, and there's like Ender and Kate here. I don't know if Situm signed up, but like
Situm did. He's muted right now, but
he is muted right now. He might be sleeping right now. It is like 2:20 in the morning.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I think everyone in this call has a shout to be a starter.
And then there's also
we must don't forget that Fog can also
that's
make
what
Fog
that's
as
what I
well,
was
yeah.
gonna say. Yeah,
And
I was gonna say, actually, it seems really tight, honestly. Like between there's like a lot of pretty decent Ubers players who signed up, probably. It's
a really competitive pool. I think we have. I think Fog could play OU because he did pretty well in World Cup.
He didn't do pretty well. I think he did really well. Didn't he go 5-1?
I think he went. I thought he went 4-2, but 5-1 is very good. So yeah, he could most definitely OU if he doesn't Ubers, and I feel like he's a lock to get picked up, kind of just for like whatever, because he's versatile. But I don't know.
Okay, he went 4-1. We were both half right.
Yeah,
that's
a very strong record in OU when he's an Ubers mainer. So he'll probably go somewhere.
He's guaranteed to get drafted. I think he would do well if he started in Ubers, but he might want to focus more on OU.
I was also going to say, like, how many slots would just go to, like, general, like, tour players? You know what I mean? Because I remember when I played, there was, like, M-Dragon and, like, a bunch of other random... Not random people, but, you know, they're not in, like, the typical Ubers, like, playing...
And I'll be honest, last SCL, the tour mains kind of flopped in Ubers. But it kind of happened.
That's interesting, because when I played that year, I think everyone, all the, like... non-Ubers players did pretty well in Gen 8, except Exaline, who always does well.
Ice Master did well as well, but FC did flop. M-Dragon did well. Poek didn't do brilliantly.
I did not mention FC flopping, but I felt like he wanted to.
Hey, that was SCL 1. SCL 2, I made my comeback. It's okay.
Well, M-Dragon didn't play in SCL 2. He only played in SCL 1. I mean, he played OU in SCL 2. So, Manifi was on about that one.
I think M-Dragon signed up for OU again. So
M-Dragon, I think, literally went, like... Didn't he go... Oh, no, he didn't do brilliantly in World Cup. That was Malekith I was thinking of.
Yeah, and Malekith is also I think OU retained, so...
He was retained, but he didn't tier lock himself into anything last year.
Oh, yeah.
So
I think
he
he signed up for all,
OU.
pretty much, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, there's at least 2 tour players who are going to get picked up, obviously, because Fade was retained, and then Solwind, who's a lock.
What we're discussing is why I was surprised that Fade was retained specifically for Ubers, because obviously he's eligible for other tiers as well. Now, I don't know other tiers, but I did not get the impression that the other tiers had the same level of depth that I think Ubers has.
Yeah, I mean, he could also like rotate because he went like 9-2 in PU last year or something like that. So he could very well just like play every tier pretty much and do perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think he just wants to play Ubers like Solon.
I think
fair enough then.
He'll do fine there too. Like, I probably needs some support, but I don't think there's a shortage of support options for tour players.
Like,
I also think
it's incredible.
There's people we didn't even
look, mashing.
What?
Mashing.
Yeah, I was gonna say there are people we haven't mentioned, like Mashing and I think Tier, and maybe even Royal
Mashing,
and Richard.
Dude.
Richard as well. We've not mentioned Richard either. And I mean, I know his UPL wasn't great, but he qualified for OLT. I'd be astonished if Richard didn't get picked up. Maybe not for Ubers, maybe for OU, maybe for a bench, but...
Yeah, he's still in OLT playoffs. Like, he didn't get eliminated in the 03, so he at least has a playoff set in an official under his belt, so...
But, I'm wondering if you're like a manager for SCL, right? And you're looking at Ubers right now. Maybe you're thinking that with just how like crazy the tier is right now. I mean, I don't want to badmouth Ubers too much since I'm a Ubers main, but if you were to compare it to like OU and UU and other tiers, and then here we have a scale shot Koraidon running around in the Specs Miraidon 2 KOing everything. Maybe you're thinking like, this seems kind of like a little random. Maybe I'll put like the dedicated tour players that are like just really good overall players into other tiers just for like, and then just
I think this
pick up
is the
Uber's
wrong
mains.
way to think, as a mainer will probably be aware of
The
some
flaws of their
weird
own
take
tier.
and not be fooled against it. So you need a mainer in your team.
I mean,
anyway
I'm a
to
well-known
prevent
hater.
some random shit to happen.
As an
I'm a
update
well-known.
as an update on Richard, he is 1-2 in OLT. He's won a
OLT,
game,
yeah.
but he did lose earlier today to Kebab MLML in OLT. So he has at least won in an official tournament, but it's not looking brilliant for him to make the playoff round of that at the moment.
Yeah, I mean he still could, but like at least he has official experience.
Yes. Yeah.
He did well enough to qualify, and even though he had a pretty poor UPL by his standards, he didn't play very many weeks, which definitely contributed to that. And then his other tours have been fine. Like he won a seasonal literally like 6 months ago or something, right? Or no, more than that. I keep forgetting how long SV has been current gen. It's been more than 6 months. But,
nearly a year ago is when he won the seasonal.
Yeah.
I think if this was Gen 8, he'd definitely get drafted off the back of the seasonal win. But Gen 9, not just drafted, but starting. But Gen 9 does throw a little wrench in the works just in terms of new meta, how do people adapt, things like that. But yeah.
I also think we should not forget that Richard was one of the best players in pre-DLC meta. I think events. Didn't he did semi-final of ladder tour, losing to Entrust Follow FC?
Losing to Entrust-Follow is not a big deal. Yes, he did make semi-finals. Okay, but we've skirmed over his name a few times. Entro. How well will he do in his debut?
Oh, I think he will smoke the pool as long as he's continued to build great teams, because I think he's one of the greatest builder in SV meta, and he understands SV like almost no one. He kept posting really great idea on Memscord. I was his captain, so obviously I know him really well. I know how he practice, how he think about the game, and yeah, I'm pretty sure if he's well surrounded, he will do pretty well.
Yeah, he went was it 8-1 or 7-1?
8-1.
Yeah, 8-1. He
8-1, which
losing
is like
one game to TK.
Taka, which is 8-1 is an absurd record.
And he played. His was not an inflated 8-1 as well. Like he played good players most weeks.
He played in SV1, or just like usually some of the top SV players. Like he played you Aber, and he played like Kither, and he played someone. I don't have it pulled up because the sheet is a little behind. I think he played Star too in best of 3.
Yeah,
he won in best of 3 too. Yeah, so he played a bunch of really strong players.
Nard 2-0 on Star. I was really impressed.
Yeah,
Who did he play in UPL?
He played Sylvia News Carmind, me, Pichu's, Kither, Taka, Star, Terracotta, Dark Shion, and I think it was Guard.
Yeah, it was
Guard
for the final.
Yeah, the finals isn't on the sheet, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pretty good builder. I would say for my style, he goes a little bit more.
He goes more offensive than you, but I think SV is also a more offensive meta.
Yeah, so I can't pretty solid builder as a player. Pretty good. I don't know if I'd put him like up there with the greats or anything, but yeah, it'd be. I think he definitely should do pretty well. I'm curious to see how he does versus the the classically really good like Exeline, Soulwind, and those guys.
Yeah,
he is good.
He does also have experience versus tour players, because he was in open finals versus 2 like
versus Giannis and Dali, yeah.
Yeah, and he looked like very promising to win that. I think he did get lucked right before he won, and then lost to Giannis in the bracket reset because Giannis had an amazing run himself.
Mm.
Yeah.
But he like I think Entro.
It's not a shame to lose Uber's Open Finals to the guy who went on to win Grand Slam.
Yeah, I think definitely in terms of results, but also just in terms of play, Entro is probably the best SV player, or like at least top 3 probably right now. You could argue.
How well do you think he's going to do then? Do you think he's going to do like 7-2, a similar record to his UPL, or do you think it's more likely to be like
I would not bet anybody to go 7-2.
Yeah, I think 7-2 is a really difficult record to bet on. I don't think anyone's gone 7-2 in Ubers in any SCL yet. I think the best was
Byron.
6 wins with
Byron went 7-4, right.
I think. I forgot. Byron had an insane run in SCL.
That's Byron though, dude. You know?
Yeah.
He did win.
I mean,
he won 7 in a row, but that was all. But he did lose. He did lose 3 games that season. His first 2 to Ice Master, and then a copy of Ice Master's team, and then to wasn't it Ice Master again in playoffs, or was it X-Line? I think it was X-Line.
I don't remember, but I think Ice beat him twice. Either way, I think since then it's only been like 6 wins, which is still very good, and I think Entro probably could put up 6 wins realistically. Like that's like a 6 wins is where you bet like a really strong near top of the pool player to beat. Just because you can't bet like 9-0, because like that almost never happens.
Oh, no one's getting 100%. No one's getting 100%.
Yeah, I do want to be a little bit conservative, just speaking from my personal experience when I joined SCL 1, and I was like 6-1 or 7-1 that UPL or something, and then everyone was hyping me up a lot, and then I didn't do that great, and I got luckily I had the Reggie. Yeah, I got the Reggie sub, so I just supported Reggie, and then Reggie just went absolutely ham. Which is great if you can manage to get that, but yeah, it is a very different, very like hyper competitive, try hard environment. Sometimes it depends on the team, of course, but yeah, I do want to be a little conservative because obviously he did play some pretty good people in UPL, like Aber, for example.
I'm so annoyed I lost my game. I choked in that game. I probably should. I was in a winning position, but because you know how you played a game just before we started and you lost because you forgot stuff because it was 8 a.m. I did the exact same thing when I played Entro because it was 7 a.m.
So I want to be like a little because like 8-1 UPL when you're playing some people like
some people who aren't going to start in SCL.
Yeah. So I do think he'll do well though. He'll do well. I think. I played him in the first like pre-home tour, that like breakout tour, and at that time I don't think he was well known at all. But I think I played him for semifinals, and he prepped really well and like brought really solid teams. It was a close set.
I think that's right around the time he ascended. Like as soon as that first season started, he ascended.
He popped off right there. Yeah.
He was improving still in Winter League. He was on our team again, Kate. I don't know if you remember, but I think he went 2-3, and since then I think he's lost literally 4 games in the entire.
I kind of blocked out the memories of most of these tours.
I think, but since that tour finished, I think he's literally lost 4 games of current gen Ubers.
That's kind of that's absurd. So I think it really just depends. Go ahead.
I mean, his run is literally impressive. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely on the hottest form. He's at 1,160 circuit points.
Yeah, like,
and he's still in seasonal as well. He's still in winner's bracket of seasonal.
Yeah,
and he will win seasonal. That's insane. Brother can win everything.
It's seasonal's an interesting one. Who do you think? Okay, for the people in here who are not still in it, which is exactly Manaphy and Sichum, who do you think wins seasonal? Because me,
man.
Kate, FC, and Inda are all still in it. Kate and FC in winners bracket, me and Inda in losers.
Yeah,
Man, I'm
we're the
upset
losers.
because all the teams tours since SV came out, I've done like really well. Like I went like 3-1, 4-1 in like winter, and then I think UPL I went like 4-1 or 5-1 or something. And then in all the seasonals and stuff, I was like, let me run Trick Room for the fun of it, and just very bad idea. Don't do that.
Never seen
Who is
Trick Room in a
left?
game.
I know.
So the matchups, I don't know if any of them have gotten played since then. Shuri has played, yes. And Shuri has won against
Yeah,
Einsfred.
totally.
So left in is F-Wealth Rimsit B, Royal Entro, Kate Layson, FC Shion from winner's bracket. And then losers bracket, it's Inda, me, Shuri, and the winner of JB291 and Icemeister.
Ice
Ice
won that
already won.
Ice won that, never mind.
Yes. So losers bracket's all decided. I don't think winners has had a set played,
Correct.
which sounds about right.
Yeah.
I would honestly just put it to you, Aber, or FC. Honestly, not to be a suck up, but something like that. I mean, I could see Entro doing it. I could see even. I don't know if Layson would win, but I think he could like get to semis or something.
Semis is pretty close,
Yeah,
to be fair.
Or Inder, yeah.
So basically, you're giving a diplomatic answer and saying nobody.
If I had to put
Yeah,
money, I would probably put money on FC, as much as it pains me. Yeah.
It doesn't pay me, don't worry.
Unfortunate, because even if FC plays like he just got run over, he always has plot armor.
FC's plot armor, yes. Well,
He's living in
Shaman
it.
Sky has now been reintroduced to the meta, so
Yeah,
me and FC will
please
enjoy
run
that.
Shaman Sky, please do it for the culture.
He can't even healing wish Shaman Sky and kill his Rayquaza.
He'll find a way.
Yeah.
He'll forget the new
Also-
healing wish mechanics and the.
True. Something funny. I just pulled up the circuit sheet from last year, and Entro already has more points than first place last year.
Oh, comfortably. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but Ox is coming in close as well, isn't he? At 735?
Yeah, he might hit that depending on how his last couple of tours go. Also, which like I think
Ox
last
is
year it
out of
was me-
seasonal.
Yeah, but there's still a couple of tours. Last year it was me and Kate who just both had just barely above 1,000, and Entro's already at 1160 with like a lot of tours to go.
Dude,
So
I
he's
got like a bunch
so
of points,
dominant
and then I
in
kept getting
SV.
axed in every round, and I couldn't get like any points. And then FC
Yeah.
plot armored his way to first seed.
But
Yeah, oh no. Overall, like I'm not a huge fan of the tier at the moment. Like,
well, let's
I
take
know
some
people.
let's take some questions from anyone who's listening at the same time, and we'll ask in Ubers General as well if anyone have any questions they'd like any of us to answer.
I know the whole.
Well,
I don't want to get to
just
the
got
whole
a-
Terra
I just got a
debate, but
question. I just got a question from the crowd.
Oh no.
okay.
Many people are saying Toad Scroll is
No.
very viable. Is this true?
Don't make me
No
mute you.
one are saying this.
Look, I'm just being a messenger here.
But yeah, I think we've covered most of the what's 9 plus 10. Fuck you, Autumn. It's not my fault that people couldn't convert time zones.
We maybe should have fielded questions earlier.
Yeah, well, we've asked, but I feel like we've discussed most of what we want to in terms of SCL, unless there's someone that we've not mentioned who people think we should.
I'll run through the list real quick. I'm just gonna give a shout out to Tier because I think he was like insanely active during UPL, and I think he's a really flexible player that could support kind of anything and also play kind of anything, and will probably be a cheap pickup. I don't know
Tier,
about Ubers.
Tier's good. I played him for something recently.
Yeah.
I think I lost. I forget, but yeah, he's good. He's
He's
pretty
a
solid.
very strong player, and also during UPL he was like, it was like me and him basically trying to solve SV, and he was really active. So I think he'd be a good pick for a team looking for
Tier
someone
is
flexible and
also
active.
very versatile. I heard he played on
Wait. We have something more important to discuss here. Aber does not know the 9+10 name.
What the fuck are you all on about?
I don't. No, whatever.
Maybe not now, eh? Maybe afterwards.
Well, we can make fun of him later. It's okay.
I want them to ask real questions, and they're just
Opinions
talking
on
about
Tinglu.
fucking 9+10.
Opinions on Tinglu.
I think it's garbage.
I
I
think
think
Alright.
Tinglu is the ultimate Pokemon,
I
and
think
people are going to get
Top
C
five.
teams if they keep running it like they do.
pre DLC, it was one of the things that was kind of holding the tier together a little bit. But I think post DLC, it's a lot worse. Because I think the meta's going to be a lot less kind to it. What about Guard? I'm under the impression that Guard has quit Pokemon. I think Guard might
Whenever
be a
Guard
shout.
says
Wow.
whenever Guard says he quits Pokemon, he comes back in a week.
he hasn't been on Smogon in about 3 weeks, so it's safe to assume he's at the very least very busy.
At the very
He
least, I
did
would
say-
not recommend that he
Yeah.
gets picked up for SCL based on the fact that I think that he is not here. I think that he is.
Yeah.
If you pick him up, I suspect that you will have to sub him out week 1.
Going
I
back
think
to Tinglu, I want to defend Tinglu's honor. I think pre-DLC, it's S minus maybe. At least
S
the top
minus
of A+,
doesn't
in my
exist.
opinion.
I hate S minus. S minus will never
I
exist.
think okay. Pre DLC, I think S minus should have been like Tingluzation, but whatever. I do think DLC hurts it a little bit, I guess, with like Shaman and Ogre Pond, I guess, but not really. You still basically have to run it on like the vast majority on like any team that's not HO. Obviously, HO is really good, so but like you kind of have to run Tinglu, and the spikes it lays are just insane. Like Whirlwinding, Calm Mind, Arceus Swarms out. It's pretty important too. It's basically the only thing keeping Miraidon.
I do
in
think
check,
that
like, at
with
all.
Tinglu, my opinions on it have soured in that I think that often it is quite exploitable as a momentum grab. And yes, Spikes is very good, but I think that like Koraidon is so difficult to switch into, Kyogre is so difficult to switch into, Groudon gives it trouble, and it doesn't. It can only half check Miraidon at the best of
Yeah.
times. Like it can only switch in like once.
Yeah,
Unless you get the
nothing-
turns completely
nothing
right.
more than-
It's worth it every time.
Nothing more than
It's
half
just a
checks
big
it.
drain of momentum.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like I don't know. I just don't like these arguments where it's like, oh, it only half checks Miraidon. It's like, what else are you gonna do? What are you gonna
Yeah,
do?
that's-
You're gonna run Clodsire?
Listen, I
You're gonna
already
run
solved
Clodsire,
this.
bro?
It's
I already
it's less.
solved
It's
this.
more of a thing of I think that it doesn't do enough to be as good as it was pre DLC. In that, while it does half check it and it's the only thing that kind of does, I don't think what it offers outside of a Miraidon matchup is brilliant.
Dude,
In
you
the
ever
current meta.
Ruination a Koraidon on the switch in for 50?
Yes,
Oh
and
my
I've seen
God,
it miss
dude.
way more than a 90% accurate move should. Breakout set predictions for SCL. That's a pretty decent one, actually, from Autumn. What sets do we think are going to rise on any underrated mons? So stuff like
Listen,
AV Tinglu.
E-killers. E-killers.
E-Killers.
yeah.
I was going to give a shout to the Crying Kyogre set, which is no stab,
Bolt beam?
sub-CM, Bolt Beam, which is
Oh, this is
bizarrely
known
actually
set,
kind of
no.
effective.
I hate it,
Um,
but it can win games, which
Yeah.
is so infuriating. Because it
Yeah,
shouldn't.
it can win games
shouldn't.
for sure, but I don't think it's the most optimized ogre set.
No, I think
You
we're going to
need a
see.
really-
Okay, in a genuine answer to the question, I think Kyogre and Groudon are going to do what they always do, and they're going to rise to the top. They're going to become just below Zacian in terms of their overall effectiveness,
I think
as they tend to do in
Groudon's
every
solid.
Ubers meta.
You are tripping if you think no rock polish Groudon is becoming an S rank threat.
if Groudon had Rock Polish and Dragon Tail, it could probably be top 10 pretty easily, but it has neither.
It
And
did get Heat Crash in the DLC, which is
It got
Kind of
crashed
okay.
to do 40
That would
feet
be
of Orpheus,
amazing if it
and
could
it got
boost its
roared,
speed.
and that's it.
yeah. No rock polish is really.
I
Yeah,
think
I don't
I
know.
think you guys are underrating Groudon. I think that it will
I-
come good.
I
Sub
think-
bulk up can kind of go crazy sometimes.
I think
I'll say
Fluttermane will reveal itself as a top 5 Pokemon in the meta.
That is a potential topic. Fluttermane.
That's a take, and I think it might be right, unfortunately.
I think Fluttermane is busted. That mon is amazing.
My opinion on Fluttermane has shifted drastically since we last voted on it. I think I voted for it to be a B ranked mon. I think I'd currently vote it no lower than A minus. Because it's just so effective to have such a strong fairy type in a tier where name the steals. What are the steals?
Yeah, it's Zacian, and that's it.
Yeah,
I put it like high end of A, probably just below Kyogre.
Probably, yeah.
That's
I would put it in A+.
It might be even better now with like Scale Shock Koraidon running around, because at least
LBN, we are not fucking making an S+. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
S plus is I don't even know what it's reserved for. Maybe if
may as well just introduce like a Z rank or something like that. If we're just gonna make up nonsense tiers.
If we get a mon like Primal Groudon or Yveltal last gen back, okay, there's the question I was going to ask actually. If DLC 2 comes and we get everything back, Ho-Oh, Yveltal, NDM, Xerneas, do we test Cali?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, I think we
not until Terra is gone, probably.
You need Tarragon. There's no way Cali's being healthy without Tarragon.
I think Cali and Terra cannot exist together. That mon is not made for that mechanic.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Well,
but okay, we haven't actually talked about Terra. Have people's opinions on it changed since the introduction of, let's say, Home?
No, I think it's stupid, and I don't like it.
My opinion on Terra, like starting pre-Home, was like it was the most broken thing ever. We should ban it. With Home, I still kind of thought that, but now, like, I think it's fine. My opinions definitely shifted a lot.
Manaphy Sitchum?
I'm not gonna say it's fine, but I think we should keep Terra, because if we remove it, there will be almost no fun on Huber's team. Team will just be almost the same. We saw many times, many same things, but different Terras, and it changes literally the whole game. So yeah, we should.
I think
keep Terra.
people tolerate it because it's the current gen mechanic and they think it's fun or whatever. But I think Terra literally makes worse players win more.
I mean, I think the problem. I think the problem
just makes it way more random in general.
I think the problem is more that the top mons exploit it way, way better than the defensive utility in the tier. Like, it's not even close.
It gets so much more magnified.
What I will say about Cali, the question that I asked about it was more a case of, given that we were discussing Koraidon earlier, what I was going to say in that is that I think if we were to do any action on Koraidon in DLC 1, we should unban it for DLC 2 and see if it's better. And that led to, do we unban everything we've banned with the release of DLC 2?
Listen, I've seen the leaks.
Which is more where the idea of testing Cali S came from, because I think I'm in agreement with everyone that, like, Cali S with Terra is just nonsensical. I don't play Natdex AG. Is it at all manageable there, FC? I assume you play
It's not a tier anymore.
I have also quit Natdex AG.
Wait, Natdex AG doesn't exist because of fucking Shedinja.
Mainly because it doesn't exist, but also because Terra Cali and stuff is...
It's literally because me and Will were the tier leaders somehow, even though we did nothing. And then they were like, do you want this tier to exist? And we were both like, hell fucking no. And then it just disappeared.
Yeah. In regular AG, Cali is like, I think it's
I know that it's so stupid.
So far ahead of everything else. Yeah, like,
I know it's so stupid in regular AG. I was thinking, does Yveltal and Ho-Oh being back make it kind of manageable?
Imagine being forced to run. So then you're forced to run Yveltal, and then you're forced to run Tinglu from Uraidon, and then you use Koraidon check.
Tinglu for Cali is crazy.
and then this is There's so much stuff. You're plus Terra on top of that. I mean, insane, absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Terra Gone,
revisiting it might
maybe?
not be the idea of the year.
I don't see the winds blowing for Terra to be gone unless the DLC 2 comes out and the 19th Terra type is ridiculous. That's the
The
only world I
19th
see.
type will probably just be like Zacian and Calyrex S exclusively get their stats buffed to 900.
No, because we saw a Excalibur got it in the trailer.
And Baxcalibur
Let's
gets
go!
its stats buffed to
Excalibur
900.
to the top.
I think most likely it's going to be pure neutral and everything, as a guess. But yeah.
That is the worst thing I've ever heard. That would be completely useless.
Well,
If
that
it
would
actually
be
was
something
pure
that could
neutral, I'd be
stay.
so happy. I'd be so happy
There's-
if it was pure neutral, so we could maybe get rid of the whole mechanic, and then I'd be happy.
Nah, it's gonna be like you only hit neutral and you hit everything super effectively.
That would be funny.
That would be
I think that should happen.
that would be quite bad. But
You
yeah,
could
Game
literally-
Freak, that would be pretty.
Yeah, you could bring
Or all
Digibugs
your
here, and it
attacks
would be
become
viable.
Edgar-
Legend Plate, Arceus,
Eh.
Judgment.
Edgar's asking for an elaboration from Manaphy in particular. Why do you think that worse players win more with Terra around? Like, I know that Edgar is he likes Terra. He thinks it's a good mechanic for us to have, and that he thinks that it adds a form of skill expression to the game. So he's interested, especially in Manaphy, and anyone who shares Manaphy's opinion. Why do you think that Terra makes worse players win more when he thinks it's the exact opposite?
I think you're just adding more
Variance?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess maybe saying worse players win more is not the right thing to say, per se. Maybe it just makes the outcomes of games more
Inconsistent. I think my
Inconsistent
view is
overall, I would
in
say.
comparison to Gen 8, I think that I'll rephrase it. I think top players are less consistent in a Terra meta. In general, and that's a sweeping statement, and it's not entirely accurate. After all, like, Entro has dropped 4 fucking games in like 6 months, but my general impression is that my problem with it is more that I think it's very swingy. I think that it swings games very rapidly.
Yeah, because the thing is that any decision you make in Mons is just like a weighted guess, of what you think the opponent's going to do, and usually those guesses don't have as much of a consequence as it does when you like predict a Terra wrong and your Arceus Fairy dies to Koraidon Flare Blitz or something like that, and then you just lose. You know what I mean? Like the outcome of predicting a Terra wrong usually is game. And I don't think that's necessarily the best way to do it. Because, and not only are you predicting Terra, which they can do at literally any time, it's also the type of Terra and also what move they're going to use. So there's just so many like confounding factors there. And I think the general power scale of Ubers makes the consequences of predicting a Terra wrong like so much worse than like lower tiers.
Yeah, just to respond to Manaphy's opinion, I really think as I said to the Melms when we were in regular season, when you want to fish a Terra from the opponents, don't try to hard anticipate it, even if you need half or more or less of the situation. You basically don't need to hard anticipate opposite Terra, because if he commit his Terra early, that's still good because you have yours in back and you have more consistency, if I could say in that way, and you have still resources to manage his own Terra. So I think, it make average players able to win games pretty easily with Terra, but it also make average players made a lot of mistakes around how to deal Terra, while it's not very hard, I think.
I have an example from something that I dislike about Terra. I don't think that this is necessarily an argument for it to be broken or not, but I'm going to put a replay in the chat so everyone who's in the stream can follow along. But in my series against Taka for Seasonal, I was in the position that the people, turn 13, the people who are watching the stream can see it. I have a Terra Eternatus at +2 speed against Taka's entire team. And I am just in a completely winning position, but I try and hard read a Terra, and the game ends up being much, much closer because I don't get the hard read right. I end up losing my Eternatus, which was in a position to sweep because I got the consecutive Terra turns wrong. I was anticipating Terra Steel rather than Terra Poison. And as a result, I'm in a situation where I'm in a tricky situation. I need to try and win an endgame.
Why in this position are you clicking not the dragon move? Like,
I was expecting it to be Terra Steel and that he was just going to Dragon Tail me out. I was going for a game. That's not an argument that it's broken. That is the weight of balance. I should probably have clicked Dynamax Cannon regardless, because worst comes to worst, I can try and set it up again later. But in reality, I can't set it up again later because there's almost no situations where I can't get an agility up on Koraidon or Miraidon, and the Scarf Bluff isn't going to work again. Arguably, I should have just switched out, but I felt like going for game was a good option there because at that point, he did not have an answer for Eternatus.
Yeah, so at that point, it turns the entire game into like a, I don't know. I don't want to say 50-50 because that term's way overused, but maybe like a 65-35% guess. And then if you get it wrong, you just lose. You know what I mean?
And I do end up losing the game because of that.
Are you streaming?
Sorry?
Can the people watching see this game or no?
Yes, I'm showing it on the stream.
Edgar's
saying that I should have switched out, but if you look at how the game ended up going, I feel like me switching out would have had the exact same effect, in that I am in a position where I probably lose to Scarf Koraidon.
I don't know. I feel like this is just like, as much as it is guessing Terra, it's guessing movesets. Like, because it's Draco Gira, Dynamax Cannon is a 100% win there, granted you hit Fire Blast. Which is just like, that's just how Mons goes sometimes. You gotta, with movesets and Terra, I think it's not always the fault of Terra, because obviously it's an information game the whole time.
I don't think that assuming it was Dragon Tail was that unreasonable. At least assuming it could have had a Dragon Tail.
That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't... Yeah, you're just adding more...
uncertainties.
More uncertainty to the equation, which does not necessarily have to be there. The other thing about Terra is that it does... Just the mechanic by itself does inherently favor offense more than defense. Now, I'm not going to get people being like, well, that's good because I like an offensive Ubers and we don't want boring Gen
I've not seen anyone...
But the thing is...
I've not seen anyone say that sort of stuff, to be fair to them. I do think some people think it's more fun, but I don't see many people say that.
And I think the fun... I think you could interpret that, it's more fun as people, not wanting to recreate the Gen 8. And I get it, like, Gen 8 can be a bit boring sometimes, but I feel like I win a lot more consistently in Gen 8.
I mean, I feel like I have to go soon, but I feel like a lot of people's opinions on Terra are heavily influenced by Gen 8 and not wanting to be like Gen 8 instead of accurately assessing the Gen 9 metagame as a whole.
Ideally, it should be a completely leaving everything else aside, just purely down to it.
No one votes like
who's going to win more often? Yeah, I know. I wish they did, though. I mean, this is just my whole argument. Like,
I don't. Like, not that I wish they don't, but like, I don't personally vote like that. I vote based on whether I think something is broken or not, but that's informed by relative standards from previous gens and previous metas. So
yeah, I mean, people are gonna vote for what they're gonna vote for what they want, and like whether you're voting that you want the more competitive metagame, whichever way you see that going, like if you think Terra's more competitive or no Terra's more competitive, or you just think Terra's more fun, no Terra's more fun, people will vote like that too. Like, you could just be bored of a metagame, get Rex, and then hope to change it. Like that's how a lot of people vote. So I think Terra is like such a contentious thing.
It's
like
an interesting.
survived, like, it's survived like 10 suspects across different tiers and only been banned in like a couple. I think like the only ones that's been banned in are like balanced hackmons because like you can break with anything there, but like that's kind of different. In most standard tiers, I think it's survived its test, which like so it's clearly a lot of people love the mechanic for fun. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's unfortunately affecting the vote, which I'm not a huge fan of. I will say, just to be fair, I will say that I think Terra was a lot less broken than I expected it to be upon, hearing about Gen 9 and all that stuff. And obviously, there are things like defensive Terras and stuff like that, so it's not a purely offensive mechanic, but being able to do stuff like getting a third stab and or getting double stab on things, for example, is
some of it also just does come down to personal preference. In that, I like what Gen 8 is, and I know a lot of people don't like what Gen 8 is. So, I do sympathize as well, and I will say my opinion on Terra has gotten softer over the course of the metagames. Pre-home, I was with FC. I thought it should absolutely get banned. I thought there was almost no question about it. Post-home, pre-DLC 1, my opinion has been trending more towards the idea that I think it's still a little bit broken, but it's not egregious.
Yeah, like pre-home, you literally couldn't check anything. We had like 5 mons, and they all could do 100% to the whole tier with a Terra stab. But now I think Arceus has helped it a lot with it being able to Terra also, just defensively. But like, I don't know. I feel like it definitely has gotten easier to check random Terra.
I'm getting nervous now with regards to just like Koraidon and Miraidon, because there are already people saying that like I don't think Miraidon like pre-DLC should be banned. I know some people thought it was a little bit too much of a good breaker. I'm getting nervous now with Scale Shock Koraidon in addition to Miraidon being in the tier. Like, it's really pushing things. I don't know. I don't want to theory mon too much, but I'm kind of nervous for the direction the meta's heading.
I'm curious to hear people's philosophical takes on something, but I'm going to ask FC in particular a practical question from Layson first. When are you putting up the samples?
New metagame. We gotta vote.
The samples are being delayed exclusively because of you. We have all voted. We've agreed on 4 teams.
4 teams is not a sample slate. Okay, we can discuss this after. We agreed on 4 teams, and like just barely. A lot of the votes were like a maybe, or like we should tweak a few things before we send this through. So like, we're getting into it. It's a work in progress. Samples will be up this metagame this time. I can say that much.
I hope that they will be up before the end of the first week of SCL.
That's pretty soon, but we can try.
The samples we put up are pre-DLC, right?
Yes.
So we gotta update them a little bit, probably, which makes things more complicated.
Yeah.
Layson says there will be no discussion. He will edit the sheet while you're asleep. But the philosophical question I had for you guys, and for people in chat, and Edgar in particular, I'd like to hear his answer on this too. If it was a case of you would ban both the bicycles but keep Terra, or you'd ban Terra but keep both the bicycles. Like, if that was the pure choice that you had, philosophically, which do you think is truer to the tier? Would you keep the box legends, or would you keep the generational mechanic?
I think it is. We should keep the box legends. They are just meta definer. They're here.
No, I'm thinking in terms of.
Without them, you can't really cook in this meta.
I'm thinking in terms of.
If we should ban something, we ban Terra all the day.
I'm thinking the discussion that we had at the start of the stream about Scale Shot being potentially too much, and Miraidon was very contentious in terms of the pre-DLC. Edgar can actually join us, so that'll be good, because that way we can actually have someone who is a huge fan of Terra, because I think most of us are at most lukewarm on Terra, so that'll be good. So I'm going to add him here.
But my personal opinion, I don't want to like put the
This isn't a council
you
thing.
know,
This
like-
isn't. This is just your personal opinions.
yeah. Personally, I'd like to just keep it purely like competitive focus. Like I don't want to put the identity of Gen 9 Ubers or whatever in like the discussion, because I know a lot of people be like, oh, if we ban bikes, then it's not SV anymore or whatever, right? But I mean, anyway, not that I support that. I'd rather ban Terra for sure.
I'm talking in terms of philosophically. I would prefer to keep what I think makes Ubers, which are the box arts. But
Have you heard?
hello, Edgar.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, it definitely would be weird. That is for sure. If
And that is purely a hypothetical. That is not based on anything that we've really discussed. That's just in my personal views. But hello, Edgar. Do you want to introduce yourself, and do you want to actually give good counterpoints as to the Terra thing? Because we are not very good at playing devil's advocate.
Well, do I have to go all the way back, or?
Oh, you can start from wherever you want to talk about, really.
Yeah, jump in wherever you feel.
Well, I think Terra is a pretty good mechanic that separates like metagame knowledge from like players who have a lot of metagame knowledge from people who don't. For starters, like you can tell that somebody has been playing just by knowing how they play around Terra a lot, and I don't think it comes down to like the overused 50-50 term, as a lot of people think, because there's always a play or like a mid-ground play you can make a lot of the times. And any like that replay you showed, like I think in there, and I think I also was giving you like a lot of feedback on what you could have done differently. So I think Terra as a mechanic doesn't really revolve around you doing X play, and if they do Y, it just turns around the game like in a 180.
Well, I'm looking at the replay again, and I do not think... I think I'm in a losing position if I do not go for that turn right. Because I think I lose to the Scarf Coridon otherwise. Unless I can win a speed tie.
It's just an example. It's just an example of like how you can maneuver around with Terra a lot. And it also gives you like additional win cons on things you were not expecting. So it also revolves around adapting to the game or what you are giving into that game and putting into practice what you thought about in the team builder. So I think Terra as a whole rewards a lot team building and thinking about just the game plan on a lot of scenarios as well.
Yeah, that's why I was hesitant to use the 50-50 term before, because I don't think most situations aren't actually 50-50. But yeah, I would say it does add another
element of skill.
That's another layer. I think that's another layer in the team building part, and it rewards a lot team building. Like if from what I've seen, like pilots are not so like even pilots like nowadays have to understand some degree of how Terra works in Ubers, because I've seen like several like pilots just going to a game with like just give me the team and I'll maneuver it, but then they stumble across like a Terra type they weren't expecting, and then it's just a game
like
that
Terra
goes
Groundization
south
or
really
Terra
easily.
Electric, yeah.
Right. So, but it's like when you play a lot, like if you play constantly, you are like, okay, like Sacian can be like 5 different types, right? But there's always like I'm prepared for those 5 types, and there's always a play I can make that doesn't really revolve around Terra. I mean, Sacian being that Terra type, but like I can just go, for example, Corbinite, and if it's Terra Electric or and whatnot, I can just like revenge kill with somebody else or something like that. So, and
Yeah,
like
I
think in there said something like really interesting, and how you're thinking about Terra and how it's gonna turn around the game for the opponent. But if the opponent uses Terra so early in the game, like you also have your Terra in the back. So you, most of the time, from what I've seen, like it's very rare that I see that the opponent uses Terra early and they ended up winning or they can actually outlive your end game Terra because they already use theirs. So a lot of the times is like if the opponent uses the Terra early, they probably end up losing if they don't understand how they position with that Terra, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Not sure if I agree with that. Just okay. So, like I said before, I think Terra is a inherently offensive mechanic, and so the best way to take advantage of Terra is to use it offensively rather than like as a reactive defensive, terrestrialization. So I think, and I've just for my experience in UPL and like watching UPL games, it seems a lot of games were turned by just like who got early game like switch momentum and then could just like use an offensive Terra to get a huge advantage. And yeah, okay, they have a Terra in the back, but maybe then they have to use it defensively, so they're not going to be able to get as much advantage. And yeah, I will say I do think the argument that it rewards metagame knowledge is definitely a fair point. Like I do think that is a definite like expression of skill there. So I do think that's a good argument in Terra's favor. I do just think like given the two players have equal knowledge, I do think at the end of the day it does just add more variance to the game, which I personally don't like. I could see how people think it's not broken to the degree that they necessarily want to ban it, but like I said, I always like to think purely competitively, so that's why I personally dislike Terra there. Aber, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I largely agree. My distaste for Terra comes from the added variance because there are times where I feel like the optimal play in terms of the most reward that you can go for with minimal risk is trying to get the Terra type right and read the Terra correctly. There are situations where that is probably the optimal play, and I think that the inherent variance of those turns is sometimes bad for the meta. What I will say, mashing, Malsold is not getting ranked in DLC 1 unless something massive happens with it.
Oh my god.
Which,
man.
It's gone.
I was gonna say, I think for the most part, I agree with Edgar in terms of Terra. Like, I think the 50-50 type scenarios that most people would say that's why they want to ban it or that's why they think it's broken come up way less often than you'd think compared to what the mechanic looks like on paper. Like, I think generally there's enough ways to play around. Like, obviously, unless you get like in a situation where a Miraidon is like +2/+2/+2 Terra Fairy, like
Right.
what are you gonna do about that?
What do you do to get there?
Yeah,
Like, right.
Yeah, that's Miraidon, and that's just like if you let that happen through Terra, I mean,
Right.
sure,
And-
some things like that can happen where it just ends the game, but also like I feel like there's usually enough counterplay, and especially in the builder. Like if you're gonna lose to something like that, you could just throw on like I don't know random Terra Groundsation and then try to at least force them to have to guess. Even if you like misplay, you still have something there.
I do think
Like,
Kate's
I
point
think-
to that is also pretty good in that I think that offensively it becomes so much harder to check things like Miraidon, Zacian, Koraidon when they can change up their stab and their defensive profile so massively. And I think that individual turns, much like the reason I don't like Z moves in Gen 7, I think that individual turns can have too much bearing on the end outcome of a game, because suddenly it's a case of, I have an Arceus Fairy against a or an Arceus Ground, against a Koraidon. I can Will-O-Wisp it or I can Judgment it. If I Judgment and they don't Terra, then it's wasted. If I Will-O-Wisp and they Terra, it's wasted. I think that individual turns can end up having too much of an impact with Terra around, strengthening the massive offensive threats that we have to potentially an unreasonable degree.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
that's what.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Okay,
I
I'll
think,
just say
Edgar, you go. You're disagreeing, so you go.
all right, all
you,
right,
you
all
go,
right.
you go, you go. Yeah. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be back.
Okay, so I think a lot of the reasons why people um, think of Terra in like as a mechanic that they don't like, because I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. I think you can make an argument for and against Terra in a lot of ways, but I think an argument that people use a lot is that stuff is not checked defensively as it should be, and I think that is very fair. But you can also use that to your advantage. Like, for example, a lot of people use like Terra Poison on Arceus, and you bring in your E-turn, right? So they're expecting for you to use Toxic. So that's something you can use to an advantage. But you can also Terra. You can also switch into something else, predicting a Terra or just baiting the Terra, and they suddenly just wasted a turn. I don't know, using Calm Mind and wasting their Terra, and they have already like shown an asset that could be useful to them late game. So I think that's also something.
There are elements
to
of that,
consider.
but my distaste comes from the more extreme scenarios where it is like, I get this turn right to deal with this offensive threat with like my Skeledirge against something that can run Terra Fire. I can either kill it with Shadow Ball or Will-O-Wisp Burn it, depending on whether or not they resist fire, resist ghost, whatever. The example isn't brilliant there, I'll admit, because Skeledirge is not so easily affected, or wasn't at least. But in terms of switching up the defensive profile of massive offensive threats in a way that often can massively change the counterplay that you need to click to deal with them, such as Will-O-Wisp on Arceus versus Judgment, on like Koraidon is the easy example, but also things like Miraidon versus Miraidon. Do you click the electric move predicting the Terra, or do you click the dragon move predicting them to not Terra to predict you to click the electric move? That sort of thing. In my personal experience, I feel like it comes up more than I enjoy having in a metagame.
I think that's very fair, but in my opinion, those scenarios you described are like very, 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 very sketchy, because Koraidon can only Terra Fire when it's either gonna set up or it can get an easy kill with Flare Blitz, or needs a kill with Flare Blitz with Terra Fire. So ideally, it will only do that when the win is guaranteed with Terra Fire.
I understand that, but it also means that I'm trying to play to avoid those scenarios ever coming up. Whereas in a world where, let's say I have a Scarf Miraidon and I'm against a Specs Miraidon that I think is Terra Fairy or Terra Steel if I'm facing Ox or something like that, then I'm not going for an out where I would normally go for, because there is that inherent uncertainty in, I click the right move, I win, I click the wrong move, I lose. And I'm playing throughout a lot of the games to avoid those scenarios as well, not just when they do come up.
I just want to add another point of Edgar Pro. The real... how do I say that? The reflection seems stupid, but it's not, in fact. The best way to use Hystera is basically not to use it. When you keep it, like, for later, you just makes plays your opponent in the fear of, well, what if he Terras here? And you just play with all your cards. You can Terra your 6 months, and I think we should base our game plan on this. Even if he Terra, for example, Koraidon, and you say, oh, that's cool, I have my Fairy Ceresin back, who can also Terra water, or maybe just Terra another offensive threat that will be better than his Koraidon, actually. There is some possibilities with Terra in back, and people really underestimate that.
I really agree with that. I really agree with that point.
It is a fair point.
I will say that, like, for example, with like Scale Shot Koraidon, right? Like, some of the threats in Ubers are so strong that you can often like force defensive Terras without even having to like offensively Terra yourself. Like, what makes me nervous about like Scale Shot Corridon is that you can literally bring it in, Scale Shot, let's say their Skeledirge or their Toxapex, and so if you're the Skeledirge or Toxapex user, it's like, what do? Do you Terra Fairy so you avoid the Scale Shot, or the Corridon user could just switch, in which case you Terra Fairy for nothing, and then you lose momentum either way, right? So it's not a 50-50 situation, but it does put you...
50-50, I think, frames the debate in the wrong way, in that I don't think 50-50 serves either side well, in that the meaning is always going to be lost, and I don't think... I think there's almost no scenarios where there's a true 50-50 in most Pokemon games.
I agree.
Yeah, it's literally just like last PP Sucker Punch is a 50-50, and that's kind of like it. Usually you have, especially early game, you have a lot of outs usually.
Yeah. And I just want to say that... okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I think I was a little bit confused by the example you used. Do you mean that Corydon comes in on Toxapex and Skeledirge, or the other way around?
He means that you can force a Terra off of Skeledirge or Toxapex by the threat of, just as an example from pre-DLC, Banded Corydon, you need to Terra to actually resist whatever move it clicked. Is what I believe Manaphy's on about. Okay. Because like if you don't Terra Fairy or Terra Steel, the Dragon move just kills you.
Yeah. And you don't have to offensively Terra yourself either. Like, yeah, okay, pre-DLC ban Corydon, yeah. Now you can just Scale Shot, so it's way easier. But yeah, you can just come in, Scale Shot, you still have your Terra. They're pretty much forced to Terra Fairy, or I guess they could risk it and assume you predict their Terra and do something else, but either way, the Corydon user tends to have a pretty big advantage there. You know, for example,
I think at that point... Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to concur, so...
and I was just going to say, like, I feel like... That's why I felt like the Terra also put, like, more... And maybe this is more of an Uber-specific thing, but it put a lot more on just, like, extremely early turns and, like, lead matchup, just getting that right. We talked about the game of chicken before, but it really can be like that sometimes, where you're just like, all right, well, I was able to get my, my Corydon or whatever in earlier than you.
I was never able to recover against Manaphy. I wasn't able to recover from turn 1. Just misremembering how Orichalcum Pulse worked with pressure. I lost my Corydon turn 1 and I was down momentum, couldn't do anything the rest of the game in UPL.
Yeah.
That's not a Terra thing, that's just an example of the meta, as opposed to anything else.
I think at that point...
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I think at that point, like what you guys are mentioning, like for example, like Toxapex having to play around the Terra with Corydon, I think at that point you have to really think about when you're building a team, what's your other answer to Corydon if it has Scale Shot and if he has to Terra against Toxapex, or you have to Terra your Toxapex and this fails, because a lot of Uber teams that I've seen rely solely on defensive answers to like the biggest threats. I think they come apart very easily. And that's just a thing about the metagame. I don't think it's really a thing about Corydon or Miraidon necessarily. But you also have to have a plan B when checking those three, especially because Terra is such a big factor in those three Pokemon, especially that you have to consider like, okay, what is a Terra type that I'm not really like that bypasses Toxapex, for example. Like you mentioned. I don't know. They use Terra Dragon with Scale Shot, for example, and I get and they Terra Dragon on my switch to Toxapex, and it's 2-hit KO'd by loading dice like Terra Dragon, and I'm not really like Terra Fairy and whatnot, or I lose the Terra like the Terra War, and they Flare Blitz on the turn 2. So you also have to have a plan B. And you guys were mentioning E-Killer earlier, and I think that's gonna raise a lot of usage as well because of that. So you also need like in my opinion, like most teams need like a defensive answer and an offensive answer to like the big three threats, because they are so volatile on how you play around them. That you also need to check them offensively if you can, I don't think just checking one Pokemon that has so much variance is gonna cut it. Like, I think that's just how you build your teams, in my opinion. And what you were saying about like the turn one game of chicken, I think it comes around like how much you need that Pokemon that you can play that game of chicken and whatnot. So that's also my point of view in that regard.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the like, for example, in Gen 8, you could build a lot of like really fatter, like bulkier offensive teams where you like don't really need a revenge killer at all. Definitely don't think you can really get away with that in Gen 9. Like, I always have some sort of priority or Scarfmon, because there's just so much random shit that can just pop off if you're not able to like revenge kill it. So
also half of the stuff has taunt, so you're just
it is a less favorable meta even without Terra, just to defense, just on account of the metagame changes. But...
Yeah. Personally speaking, it's a bit like having to play that game of chicken so much is something I would personally like to avoid a lot more than I feel is reasonable. And I do think that's, partly because of Terra, partly because the tier is just so offensive in general, but I don't think Terra helps in that regard. Yeah. So
while we have you,
I
Edgar,
don't know.
Are there any topics that we covered earlier that you'd like to weigh in on? Any helpers for SCL? Anyone you think is going to start that we didn't mention? Any thoughts on the meta that you think we're just completely overlooking, like Mewtwo suddenly being good or something?
I think on meta takes, it's very easy. I mean, it's very, very hard to tell from.
It is like day 4
from this point. But I think Hyper Offense just got a lot better. I've been playing with HO a lot, and it feels a lot better than it was pre-DLC. So there's a lot of stuffs that you can run that just.
When you say HO, do you mean non-webs HO or do you mean webs HO?
I mean both webs and like other types of HO.
Both, yeah, because we talked about
Someone
Ribombee.
might not agree with Edgar. I really think Ribombee and stuff for weebs are really overrated, and it will drop in some weeks. I don't see really weebs are as an consistent archetype. I just think if you want to play an Asho reliable, you play either Climora or something able to put real hazards like spikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can see that. I think I can see that. Yeah.
All HO got a little bit better just because like everything has scale shot now. Like if you want, you can literally just run Koraidon plus Ray or Bax or even all three. Like
I was running that.
Just really scale shot everything.
How do you avoid losing to Fairies?
As the dual screens lover, you put scale shot Koraidon behind Reflect. Oh my god, dude! Oh my god, absurd, dude! Absolutely absurd.
It does sound pretty good. But yeah, I think we're going to roughly wrap it up. We have been going on for about 2 hours now, unless there's other points that people want to make or things like that. We've not gotten any questions for a little bit, aside from Mashing asking about Mousehold. So I do think this is probably a pretty good time to call it, especially now that we've been able to get a more balanced discussion on Terra. Thank you for joining us there, Edgar.
No worries. I was a little bit busy earlier.
Oh yeah, it's no problem. Like not a problem at all.
All good.
It was good. I think the call was split. We have 7 people that joined the whole time, but it was pretty much split exactly down the middle between who likes Terra and who doesn't like Terra. So it was good. We could have a decent discussion on that.
Yeah. And I think you're better expressing the points than in terms of Terra's favor. Like I was trying to play devil's advocate for it because I forgot that FC liked it, and I'm nowhere near as good at explaining why Terra's good as someone who actually thinks Terra's good. So thank you very much for joining us. I think we're going to wrap that up then. Looking forward to the draft tomorrow. I'm excited to see what team I'm on. I had one thing I was going to do. What's everyone's price predictions for Soulwind?
Might be
22.
25.
22, 25,
23.
23,
Oh, come on.
$1 billion. I don't know.
$1 billion.
You could justify literally any of his soul. He's so good.
He
Yeah,
is
it's
very good. He
Soulwind.
is Soulwind. I'm thinking. I'm genuinely I think he's gonna be like 18. Genuinely, I think he's gonna be about 18.
I think he was like 19 last year.
He was like that last year, but he had the flexibility. He didn't exclude the other tiers the way he did this time. This time he's exclusively Ubers, so I think it might genuinely be close as to who's more expensive, you or him. I do think he will be more expensive, but I think it'll be close.
Because I was 16.5, so I think he'll be more than that. He also is really good at SV Ubers. Through UPL, he killed it with whatever I gave him. He just know how to pilot it right away.
It's incredible that in spite of that, if anything, he's underperforming his SV Ubers compared to how he does in all the other tiers as well.
Yeah,
he's crazy.
Can I say one thing before we sign off?
Of course, go ahead.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just, definitely looking forward to seeing what people bring in SCL. Probably going to be a lot of creative new stuff going on there. I am very concerned about the meta in general, like with Scale Shot Corridon. I'm not saying it's broken, but it's getting pretty close there, man. Like, I think you're going to see even more Phariseus than we've already been seeing. Phariseus feels like Phariseus particularly feels like kind of the glue keeping the whole tier together in a way. It's like the only good dragon resist besides Zation. And yeah, with Skill Shot Corridon happening now, the defensive answers being way weaker, the ease of boosting its speed. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really concerned about the meta, honestly. I don't know how you guys feel about that. But,
I think that we're going to have to monitor it closely, and if the meta doesn't seem like it's improving by like week 2, I would personally be voting for a suspect test.
Come on, dude. Week 2?
Week 2 is a month away. Week 2 is a month away. Week 2 is a month away. Week 2 is a month away.
Yeah.
Do we have a break week?
But that's 2 weeks of playing.
The end of week 2 is a month away, FC.
But that's 2 weeks of high-level play, though.
It's 2 weeks of high-level play plus 3 weeks.
That's 10 games.
It's 4. It's also 4 weeks of seasonal.
But that's 10 games.
Ah, yeah, that's true.
What are you gonna say?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we could wait a little bit longer. I think things will take off.
I am more proactive than either of you, clearly.
I'm with Aber on this one.
It would also be a case of I would be advocating for a test, not like a quick ban. Nothing's like the leaks where it was like Ogapon was meant to have bloody 665 BST speed boosting ability automatically, item unrestricted with last respects and victory dance. No, it's nothing like that broken. It's just that I think that there is evidence, especially pre-DLC, it was already a top mon in the... I had it as the top mon in the meta. Scale Shot has made it noticeably better. I would be inclined to act quicker rather than go an entire SCL with a potentially broken element. And now, again, this is all saying if nothing changes in a month.
Yeah.
It's 10 games.
Is Def Terra Fairy Gliscor? We'll be that guy.
It's not 10 games. That's 16.
10 games.
We'll pass on.
That's six. That's not even 16. That's 20 games, isn't it?
No.
Oh,
It's
no,
10 weeks
sorry.
in a month. 10 games.
Including seasonal. Is it not 20 games?
I don't know about seasonal.
I don't know about seasonal, bro.
Too many
you cannot compare. The stakes are not the same.
Me and Ice Master playing in seasonal wouldn't count, but me and Ice Master playing in SCL week 1 would. Okay.
Yes, the stakes are not the same.
Yeah.
Especially we have triple the games in seasonal too because it's the best of 3. Nah. I think that if there's no... I think if it stays the same as it is currently for the entire month, I would be inclined to take action. You're free to vote no ban, Edgar. You're free to vote no ban.
Surveys.
We would not do this as an exclusive thing. This would be something we need a lot of support on.
Yeah,
we're gonna see Chimpao, King Gambit, and E-Killer rising in usage. You're gonna look like a clown.
You think King Gambit's gonna rise with Scale Shot Corridon rising? I thought King Gambit got worse with Corridon becoming more of a setup sweeper.
Hey, but it drops
think
its
so.
defense now. It's not flame charge.
It does
Right.
drop its defense,
Everyone's got to
but
do 100.
I thought King Gambit was
Bucket
really,
push
really good pre-DLC, but now it's not going to be as effective because Koraidon won't be chipped as much. Like Scarf
I think
Koraidon got
priority
chipped.
is. I think priority in general is going to be better.
It will.
In
Equally,
Pro
yeah.
DLC.
You want to see something really funny?
Go
Where's
on.
Calic?
Where have you put it?
I was just that FC. I was literally going to comment.
There it is.
Like a
And there
second
it is.
ago that some guy's
there
going to
it
be
is.
like, well, if you have a King Gambit with
And
5
there it is.
mons dead, and
King
There it
Gambit
is.
with 5
That is
mons
all.
dead, you only need
There
40%
it is.
chip on the
There it
Koraidon
is.
for it to die.
There it is.
Hey,
And
that's
there it
enough.
is.
That's enough.
And
You
there
got,
it is.
5 of your mons are dead. You couldn't do 20% to a Koraidon. You're doing something wrong.
What do you mean
Right.
20%?
And there it is.
20% isn't enough to kill it. You need 40%.
Hazard.
40, yeah.
Spikes.
Okay, well, how about you get up those spikes, bro? How
Also,
about you
yeah,
get
you're
up
using
those
black
spikes?
glasses. Don't lie to me, FC.
That's just more.
And also, I think
Blue or
Koraidon
spikes.
spreads will be bulkier than just G. Yeah, will be
back.
bulkier. Maybe more
I think-
HP, more diff.
I think the speed
I
is
don't know.
super necessary usually, but it could.
It
go
also
back to
ignores the
5.
idea of bulk up.
Yeah, bulk up too, yeah.
It won't click it. Don't worry.
Anyway,
Alright.
thank you guys all for joining me, and thank you everyone who watched all the way through. There were 8 of them, but we peaked at about 25 or so. So thank you to everyone who watched. I hope that was fun.
Very nice.
I hope you guys in the call enjoyed it as well. And we might do another one of these at some point as well, because this was pretty fun.
Yeah,
and
we should do these more often.
I now have the
Yeah,
setup
but
that I
please not
can
at
actually
2 a.m.,
stream. I no
please.
longer have pathetic internet. My internet is now doing consistently over 6 megabytes per minute.